Okay, this one's a long one and the tricky one actually. So we are working on the toilet cistern. And as you saw in the previous episode, the previous cistern was completely screwed, basically. It didn't really flush. No, it flushed fine. It just took like half an hour to fill up. The whole of the porcelain, I believe. It was all cracked. I mean, it was held together with silicone, I think, or the Fernox sealant, but I thought, you know what, let's just replace it and enclose it with some hardwood to match the toilet cover. So what I'm doing here is I'm assembling the cistern that I received, and it was only like £20, so very, very cheap, but very, very efficient. Well, not efficient, I mean, it uses 6 liters, so efficient might be the wrong word, but it refills quickly and it flushes all of the shit away, which is great. But the assembly that you see me do now is a bit strange. So you see I'm screwing in these pipes into a plastic piece, which was actually the trickiest part. I went back and forth on the plastic piece because it kept on having a very micro leak. But after I spoke to a friend, he just recommended just to tighten it bit by bit and check every few hours. And after tightening it enough, it did stop the micro leak. Although I was like trying to seal it with the Fernox, that was not very. It wasn't doing much actually, but just tightening it, very, very tiny bit, seemed to fix the job. Anyway, so clearing up the old mess that was from the previous cistern. I just designed this quick adapter for the toilet, for the cistern to the toilet itself. So it would screw it in to the toilet bowl too. So we've got, I think, what is the measurement? I think this is around 8 centimeters diameter, and the top is 5 centimeters diameter with a 2mm shell thickness. So let's send it off to the print, and around 3 hours later we should have a finished product, and hopefully it will fit. There might be some issues, something might not fit, and we can just adjust it and reprint it, but that should be pretty quick anyway. So let's have a look at it here. So here we've got the sliced version and the print preview, which says around 2 hours and 30 minutes and around 90 grams of filament. So that's like 1/10 of a spool, which is like 70 pence. It's it's insanely efficient. And we've got very, very loose supports, because I don't need this to be pretty, I just need this to be leak proof basically. And I've got 4 perimeters here. Besides, there's no pressure really created in the toilet, so it shouldn't really matter. The water is just going to go down basically into the bowl, because there's never really any clogs or anything like that. So yeah, should be good to go. Let's go. Okay, just remove the supports here. Nothing too fascinating. They came off pretty easily. Could have come on nicer, but I got them off pretty quick enough. Okay, so here we have the final print. I printed it around 3 times because I kept on getting the dimensions wrong. So here we go. Let's try and fit this. So like that, it's a bit loose, but so is the original plug. That is because we need some space for the rubber band. So the rubber band is nice and tight, so that's fine. So if we put this on first, which goes on a bit tight actually, and then the rubber ring. Maybe I should have made this slightly longer. Okay, so now that the rubber ring is on, let's connect it like this. And when we start to get the thread on, which it feels like it's on already, now we can push it in further. Push it in further. Further. And to be honest, it doesn't need too much tightening because that rubber is going to be nice and tight anyway. I've done a few prints already, adjustments. So that is like perfection. amazing. Look at that fit. Fuck yeah. I did have to reprint it around 3 times, and then we got a TPU bushing here, and that's just to get a bit of a closer seal. So I modeled this washer. It's out of TPU, modeled and printed. So let's see how this fits. So it'll be around here. More pressure. So there will be a little bit of stretch. I made it slightly smaller so it stretches on purpose. Besides, we're going to fill it with Fernox sealant anyway. I just wanted to get a bit of a tighter fit in a way into the edges. And with the TPU, it can actually push up against it rather than the plastics, PETG. This is more rubber-like. But it's always fun to play around with the 3D printing stuff when you're making things fit. Let's just give this a test. Let's see if this works. It's not too stretchy. I think it's just right. And now we need to fixate it with some screws. Well, let's fixate. What do we want to do first? Do we want to drill into the wall first? Don't want to get a level maybe. Not really, because actually you see where the lines go. Will be here. So now I can drill into these. Nice and easy. And now that we've got a good assembly, we can actually fit it next to the wall. So let's clean it up first before we secure it permanently. Pretty straightforward. We've got some bolts, nuts, and it's aligned pretty well. Just the final clean, and then some Fernox to make sure everything's super tightly sealed. Even though we've got the rubber washers, I did actually print another even bigger rubber TPU washer kind of thing that goes onto the bottom side next to the toilet itself, but that was a bit too thick, so I'm gonna remove that in a minute and then replace it with the first one that I had. But yeah, that Fernox thing isn't super necessary. I just like to be sure, because I don't really want to go through the pain of removing it and refitting again back and forth. I just want to get it over and done with as soon as possible. But that Fernox is a really big help, just to seal any of those micro leaks. I mean, PTFE tape wasn't going to help me here, so this will help me very well. Because like I said, I do not want to remove this, I just want it done. But yeah, always use gloves with that Fernox stuff because it's a nightmare to get off your skin. I had it before. It smells like vinegar, which to be honest I like. But yeah, on the skin it's not good. I don't think it's toxic. I'd rather not swallow it, but I'm not going to play around with it. So yeah, I always wear gloves when messing around with the Fernox. And then keep a bunch of kitchen roll next to you at all times when using it. And some IPA. Isopropyl alcohol. Okay, now that the cistern is fit into the toilet, now we can actually attach the... Is it the faucet? I don't know. It's not the faucet. It's the... I don't remember the name of this, but basically it's the thing that fills up the cistern and flushes it. And you can see here, this is the bit that I was having trouble with, that I was mentioning before, the plastic to the massive nut that goes onto the plumbing pipe. I had to keep on screwing that tighter and tighter until the micro leak stopped. I mean, you didn't even notice this until you waited for like a couple of hours, then you saw a little bubble raise. Okay, so the cistern is completely replaced. I made a little mount for my toilet to cistern, toilet bowl to cistern. I've attached the inlet pipe, outlet, and it fills to the max, 6 liters. Very, very well, and this refilled so quickly. And if you press the flush button, I do it all the way to 6 liters every time. It goes down very well, and it gets rid of all your junk. and then it refills really fast, and you only need to press it once and it goes down all the way, look. So you don't have to hold it, and look how fast this refills. So this is phenomenal. See, it's filling already. Very, very fast. Very, very nice and leak proof. There's very good bushings, rubber O-rings there, and at the bottom, and very leak proof. And the shipping was completely perfect as well, because this is a very, very durable actually piece. And it looks like it's inject molded, but look, it's nearly refilled already, so it's just amazing. Very happy with this purchase. Okay, so it's time to make the cistern cover. So this is a really, really nice hardwood table that I found. And obviously I don't really like the color, but what I do like is the grain. So we can utilize the hardwood, because to be honest, that should have been quite expensive, because it's really heavy and solid hardwood. So let's disassemble it and let's see if we can actually get the shape that I want. So I'm doing a little bit of an experiment first before I move on to the proper big pieces. I am testing if I can bend, instead of just cutting the hardwood, if I could cut it so I got like maybe 1 millimeter left over, and then I could bend it into shape. That way there isn't any sharp corners and the grain follows and you can't even see any split. This would actually really benefit me if I could actually just bend it and then glue it, and yeah, it'd be much easier to glue that way. So obviously it's like not a really good idea mixing water with wood, because wood absorbs water, but this is hardwood, so it might be a bit more dense. Oh, is it? Oh, look at that, it is flexing already, which is very good. But before I do that, I'm gonna put it on the other side as well. But like I said, this is an experiment. I don't know what will happen, but by the flex already, that's a very good sign that it will, I think, work. But let's put more and more and more. You can hear it breaking, I think. Yep, breaking. Damn it. Because I rushed it, I think. But this is the test piece anyway. I mean, if it breaks anyway. Huh. I wonder if that is just a layer of it stuck on. Okay, maybe for the main piece I could take it even slower then. I think this is MDF underneath. Yeah, because the top layer, that is hardwood, but underneath is MDF. Okay, so I thought I just saw a piece in half. Not in half, or like, yeah, in half. And it does look like MDF underneath, so just like 1 millimeter layer of the hardwood itself. But we can still work with that. I can make something out of this. So instead of bending the wood, I think I'll just do that. I'll just cut shapes. Bending would be a bit much more difficult, I think, and I need steam for that. Okay, so a lot of alignment before any cuts, because this is the final pieces that I'm going to use for the enclosure. And you can see I'm doing quite a few passes of each cut, and that is because that what I noticed is if you go for a straight deep cut with woods, mostly hardwoods, softwoods, but this turns out to be MDF actually, what happens is that the saw will actually bend, which is rather an interesting find. But as long as you got the fence sitting and you see it's clamped there, you'll get the correct lines. This is shit. So that was a bit of a miscalculation in my fence positioning, so I have to recut it again, but that's no problem. As long as I got the matching grain pattern, that will be fine. So although I cut a side panel and the main back panel at like 42.5 degree angle on both sides, I cannot get a flush and clean cut, because with every cut that I do, every pass, it seems like the angle changes very, very slightly. So I'm gonna try using the router again, and I put a little shim in because I don't have a perfect 42.5 degree router bit, do I? So let's see if I can resolve this like this. Well, this was getting rather repetitive using the circular saw to make those tiny cuts, but with the router it got me very, very precise straight lines, so this was a much better way of doing it rather than doing like 10 different passes with a circular saw. And with this method I'll be able to glue it very well. Well, that took a while, all of that for that. Then again, it took a while to measure and decide the angles of everything. So to join these up, I've made these little brackets. These are 100-degree brackets rather than a standard 90-degree. I designed them and printed them with 3ds Max and Prusa Slicer. Now it's just a point of assembling. I just need to make sure that I first drill the pilot holes, because those screws, I do not want them going through the actual wood piece themselves, so you could see where the screw was. So I need to be very careful with that. So drilling a little bit at a time and screwing in one bit at a time. And once I actually got my exact positioning, I can actually put the glue on, as you see me doing now, and then I can actually fixate it. And here you can actually see the actual seam, but what I'm doing is I'm sanding using the glue, and the sawdust, as I'm actually sanding it, is going to go into the crevices and is going to basically merge with the glue. I just thought of a great idea. So using the bottom and these two clamps to bend these outwards so that it's a better squish, better join. So I think I'll do that on the other side after filling in the holes with some sawdust. And now I need to actually get the flush button into the enclosure. So a bit of improvised measurements here, and then using a circular drill I can actually make the hole, and then I need to make it fit in terms of depth. So I need to make a little O-ring that goes on top of the flushing button. So just using some excess pieces that I had from the actual enclosure itself. And then I need to make a backing, so using some super glue and an accelerator. And before I cut out the whole thing, I glued the backing. And then very careful cutting that I do not advise you guys to do. As you can see, I'm doing a bit of a cowboy style, just cutting, improvising, sanding. And now we can actually make sure it fits and then super glue in place. So I had the push button inserted just to align it and then pull it out straight away as soon as it's aligned. And now I'm cutting with a circular saw some depth, because the pipe, the inlet pipe that was going into the cistern was kind of hitting it just like a few millimeters. Okay, a bit of a bummer. So I didn't realize the phone stopped recording. It was because the storage system was full. But basically I sanded the top and the sides, and then I stained it with the black dye. However, there was a bit of a problem. I sanded through the 1mm hardwood, so as you can see, color doesn't look consistent. However, the sides are perfectly fine. I can, however, remedy this, I believe, if I sprayed black spray paint on top. That will make the color even, and then you shouldn't be able to see that the texture changes. If you chip it, you will see the color underneath if it wasn't stained. However, if it's stained, the color goes right through the grain and into the wood. It's soaked into the wood, so if you chip it, you won't really see it. However, if you stain it and then paint it on top, it should act as a double protection in a way, I believe. So I'm going to try to do that. And besides, I don't want to stain the MDF part, because if I do, that's going to expand, so I don't want to do that. See, I was already starting to repeat the same mistakes because this hardwood piece is so thin. It's just only like 1mm, and you see I was going through already. So let's just stain this and then spray paint on top of it as well, because yeah, I'm not appreciating what's happening here. And now onto staining. So we've got the toilet seat here as well, because that was not good. The previous time I did it, I just used spray paint, but this time I'm using a stain. So as I mentioned, as I don't want the MDF area to soak in the dye, I'm just going to spray paint it and the top as well. because of this blow through. Just make it nice and even. Let's see what happens. So although I'm actually sanding through some pieces, and you can see the grain kind of left because I sanded through it, it will recover very well once it's all glossed up, which is what I'm doing now. Alright, to secure this to the wall, I had to design and print these little brackets. These are 80-degree brackets, because as you can see, this was 100 degrees, so this is 80 degrees. So let's first secure them to the cistern itself. And where did I put part A? So I'm not drilling any pilot holes. Yeah, once again, this is all improvised, but I had it aligned just so I know where I needed to drill into the concrete and the tiles. And now what I'm doing is I'm filling up the sides with clear silicone so that I can get a nice seal in case of any water. I decided to go for a clear silicone because I have areas like this, bottom, here, and especially here. Now this looks like a mess because I tried to use the squeegee thingy profiler on this area. Not the corner, but this area. So once it's fully dry, I can just like rub it off, but I'm just leaving it like that for now. But basically I use clear silicone because for any silicone that goes between there, I can't get my finger down there, so anything that's getting squished out when I push this in, I won't be able to see it because it's clear. But if I used white, obviously I would have been able to see it. So yeah, I think going for the clear was a good choice. Yeah, that is finally done. Alright, so I didn't clean the whole bathroom, but I just cleaned the toilet just for the sake of actually showing off what it's like now. So yeah, as you can see, most of the bathroom is a bit dirty, but the point is just to show off the finished toilet. So yeah, I take a shit in that, it's very nice. Anyway, what I'm showing is, so basically the cistern and the toilet lid is redone, and they're painted and they are stained and glossed and protected. So yeah, the changes that I made, obviously you can see all the plumbing from previous videos where I done all the flooring and neaten up all the plumbing here. Very nice here. Love that. That's my cat's litter box. And just nothing interesting here. I mean, just a regular toilet. But what's different is the custom cistern that I made. So can you hold this for me, please? So this is the enclosure that I made. It's out of 1mm thick hardwood and MDF underneath, I believe. So yeah, MDF was a bit of a risky choice considering it's going in the toilet. But that doesn't really matter because the areas where the water could get in is sealed by the silicone. And I also decided to make this area removable for maintenance in case something does come up. So yeah, that is the enclosed cistern. And yeah, you can see that this is the piece that I used, and it's cut out very nicely. It fits so nicely, you can't even tell that this is removable unless you actually know about it. Like, it lines up so well. And this is the edges that I sanded down, and that PVA glue took the sanded sawdust and went inside the seams, so that came out very seamless. And we've got the flush button, flushes very well, and you can see that fit perfectly. I don't know what that dirt is, but yeah, it's been actually 2 months since I actually did that video, but I thought I actually filmed the final result. How interesting is that, huh? A video about toilet making. So interesting, isn't it? Thanks for those who have watched this, and stay sane. I don't know. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.